Okay, hello everyone, and welcome to Hunting for Silver Linings. It is Monday, January 11, and that's here in the Great Lakes region of the U.S. is where I'm at, Grand Rapids chapter director. My name is Corey Hart. Today we have a very special guest. We're checking in with the chapter director for Startup Grind down in Buenos Aires to learn about her story and her ecosystem, opportunities and challenges that people are facing mid-pandemic. We have Solange joining us. Hi, welcome.
Hi, thank you for having me here.
So yeah, now we spoke a little bit before we started to record, and you're a fairly new chapter director, although your chapter is not new. Before we get into all that, I do want to give you the opportunity to introduce yourself, your personal background, to the rest of the Startup Grind chapter director community and the investor and innovator community that we have.
Okay, perfect. Well, I'm working. I have a lot of different activities, but I was trying to be make a short description. But I work now as a business development. I work in the tech industry, and I work also as a professor and coach of entrepreneurs. Also as a researcher for a university here. I am a coach and professor of entrepreneurs also in two universities here. Well, that's I think it's that's a resume. Also, the last thing I do is I'm independent producer of audiovisual content, especially TV series and short formats for social media. So that's it.
That's it. That's all. That's all you're.
That's all.
Yeah. Well, it's we're a community of ecosystem builders because you didn't even talk about that. But we're all very busy because we do this on the side, usually as a passion because we really like to put energies into entrepreneurs and growing our community. So I'm going to ask you a few more questions about your background and what you're involved with. But first, maybe you could let us know how you discovered Startup Grind and got plugged in there.
Well, I received an email with an invitation, and I heard before that, of course, Startup Grind exists, but not here in Buenos Aires. So for me, it was kind of surprising that they searching for reopen the chapter here. So I have a pleasant meeting with Madeline, and well, now I'm here. We reopened the chapter just a couple of months ago, and the reception was incredible. We start. Now we have almost 7,000 of members. So it's a quite big community here of well, small entrepreneurs, students, and well, companies in general. So it's kind of a big chapter, even if we are reopening now. It's like we work only for the last couple of months, but we have a really good reception. We have the support of amazing partners here. So well, it's a quite of of start. It's I have a lot of it's a very happy path that we are starting to do it, and surprising because we didn't know how big can be this chapter.
Well, 7,000 is a lot of members.
Yeah. Yeah, I know, and that's why I also we have fortunately we build a team to support us because well, we think that it's impossible to grow if you don't have a good team to support you. So we are now, I think, almost 10 members in our team of volunteers, which are, well, amazing people from different backgrounds. And well, we are in the path to grow this chapter even bigger.
Right.
Of course, we start in a kind of strange stage of the of the world, because we start as a virtual chapter, but well, it's for us was really good. We we make a synergy with another country, Honduras, and well, there's also um, partners and members of the team that came from that other country.
Now, so the chapter is already quite large. So there was some energy there, which is awesome that you get to just restart. But it like that doesn't happen alone, right? It doesn't happen in a vacuum. Your ecosystem in Buenos Aires is quite robust and exciting. There's a lot of activity as a startup ecosystem all by itself. A lot of government support, public support, a lot of private support. Could you explain a little bit about the aspects of the ecosystem that you're, excited about, things that you can brag about to everyone else?
Well, it's I think it's kind of surprising because it's like we are on the in the edge of the world map. It's like we are really in the south of the planet, but here we have a really strong ecosystem. I think probably is we are really trained to changes, to faces changes and crises. So I think this is a big ecosystem because we have a lot of startups. In fact, I think it's almost the 50% of GDP come from startups, and the 60% of employment. So it's really big ecosystem of startups. We have 500 of VCs. Um, this is a particular country because it's a really large country, but historically is Buenos Aires centered. It's like everything that happens here in Buenos Aires. In the last years, there's another cities that fortunately can grow, like Cordoba, which Startup Grind has another chapter in Cordoba. And well, Mendoza is another one. So, but in general, I think almost the 70% of the activity in the entrepreneur field occur here in Buenos Aires. I think it's well, probably has a is related with our story and our roots. We came from well, there's a lot of immigration here, people who has to start from zero. So I think it's something that is in our DNA, or in our culture, to be an entrepreneur. But I think probably in the last years we see that trend more significant. For instance, I work as a professor, and last year in our entrepreneur courses, we have 5 times of enrollment. It's like grow a lot the courses of entrepreneurship. So it's I think it's a trend that never ends here. We have also 5 unicorns. Is like in Latin America, this is really significant, and it's related, I think, with this kind of culture that we have. It's, in my opinion, it's probably has to do something with this historical roots.
Now, you mentioned some of the aspects of like a really robust ecosystem. One of those being talent and how to get educated to be talent, right? So, like, there's a really great university system. If I'm a young entrepreneur, is it pretty popular for me to go into the university system to get my skills? And when I graduate, do I have the skills I need to be an entrepreneur, or is there still a skills gap there? Because some ecosystems, you might spend some time in school and then you're still not qualified to do anything.
Well, I think this is in general in the educational systems are a gap between the skills that you need to start right away when you graduated. But I think here we have a really good and public system of universities. If you want to start to study, is for free, and you have really good professors. In general, the professors of the university, of the public university, it's there are people that are really important in their fields, so you learn from the best.
Mhm.
But I think in general there is a transformation that universities need to make in their programs, because sometimes there is a lot of theory, but you have to learning by doing. Also, it's not only learning by a book.
Mhm.
If you read a book of how to drive a car, it's not enough to drive a car. So I think that the university level here is really good. It's really good. Unfortunately, it's public. Uh, it's everybody that want to learn in the university can do that without having a big amount of money. But I think there's a digital transformation, especially left in the whole system.
Mhm.
Um, in in certain way, the pandemic crisis bring, I think, 10 years from the future to now. It's like universities has to readapt, including all the bureaucracy process and how the professors teach. So probably for education, last year somehow was a good year in universities, not in the educational system in general.
Mhm.
But I think, yeah, there's a lot to do. There's still a gap, but I think probably this crisis put on track to reduce that gap.
Well, that's now within the university system, and since it is public, we see a lot of opportunity for that public reach as far as supporting the ecosystem even further. So, like having innovation hubs inside of universities where they can spring, they can support startups from like students, and then also, own some of that technology. Is that pretty popular?
Yeah. In fact, I think in a couple of years, start like a trend where universities start their own courses or hubs. I work in two public universities. One of them is the Buenos Aires University, which is the biggest one here, and the other one is the Technological National University, which is I think it's the second one probably. Both of them has different kind of courses and hubs to encourage students and also citizens, because they have like extensions um, to improve entrepreneur skills, to make them have also mentors specialized in certain fields. So I think there's a lot of educational possibilities here, but also for free. For me, that's really important as a country to bring this kind of possibility for everyone. So I think here also we really value education. Well, it's like a discussion, because right now we have to strain the primary school and high school, I think, to get into the university with a better preparation.
Mm-hmm.
But in general, universities are really aware about entrepreneurship, and that's why they develop different kind of programs and courses, and have to make this trend more strong.
So we spoke about like the fact that there still may be a small skills gap after you're out of university, and maybe as the young entrepreneur, I didn't really get into the innovation hub at the university level, or maybe my idea that I did do just didn't kind of work while I was there, which is fine because I learned from that experience. But now I'm out of university. I noticed that there's a lot of like innovation studios and co-working hubs and a lot of different places I can go and get those skills, right, through workshops, and also plug in with other entrepreneurs. Is it fairly easy as, like, say, a young entrepreneur, if I was one there, to find like other networks and other people and plug in?
Yeah, I think so. I think there is a lot of places that you can get. It's easy to find because, well, there's a couple of well-known hubs. And for instance, we have here a very popular hub. It's Endeavor, which is, well, it's but this is well, the Endeavor is for when you have a startup. But there is another kind of opportunities that you have when you are when you have a seed startup, or when you start, or when you have an idea and want to develop this idea. For instance, NextTP is one of the incubators where it's not like a VC. It's more like they assign a mentor. They have a mentorship program, and but in those cases you have to apply and be selected. It's not like everybody can enter to this kind of house. In the case of university, it's open for everybody except one course that is for young entrepreneurs, and you have to have a startup. But in general, you can enter to and one of these hub. And it's not difficult, but you have to show as a compromised entrepreneur with your startup. It's not like, oh, I have an idea and I want to I want to guess how this will be. It's not like that. It's you have to show a really strong compromise with your idea or your startup.
So
It's
I'm
like
with how busy it is and how competitive it might be, that by the time that you are ready to apply to a program like this, you probably have some revenue, right? It's probably important to show some revenue. It's probably or important to have at least customers and some growth and somewhat of a team already. So on that part, like finding team and, say, a co-founder, is it fairly easy to find like people to join my team and put this thing together?
Well, that's a tough question. It's not if you're in the you're into that the entrepreneurship ecosystem is probably, I think, easier than if you start alone. But there's a lot of cases. In fact, one of the startups that we host, they start as universities partners. Well, they met in the university. That's one of the ways to get a partner for your startup. Another way is, of course, to know partners in the co-working spaces. For instance, one of our partners is Area Free, which is the probably the biggest one hub for entrepreneurs, and there's a lot of synergies that start in this kind of hubs, because you go to grab a coffee, and then you met someone that can help you with your startup. And I think probably even last year was primarily virtual. There was a lot of synergies that's going on. For instance, like WhatsApp groups for CEOs or for startups, and I think probably that replace this kind of ways to know a partner for your startup. But I think it's not that easy, but not. I mean, not only here. It's difficult to find a partner that suits you or suits your startup. It's like married. I think it's not related with this ecosystem, but in general, it's complicated.
It's true. So let's say I found through some effort, I found a co-founder. I have some traction. Now it's time to hire some more team because I just can't do it with remote part-time workers anymore or free help. Is it do people try to keep the team within like the ecosystem, or is it popular to go with that, like outside the region to hire some tech talent to save money, or like what's it like?
Well, right now we work in the national level because we have a really difficult to hire someone from other country. In general, the companies that expands to other countries contract people in other country when they have an office in that country, not from here. It's not common that, because it's we have the peso, which is really comparison with the dollar, it's really it's costly for us to hire someone in other country.
Mm-hmm.
So in general, the members of a team are we contract national
Sure.
resources. But it's also there is another thing that is the risk to contract someone, because we have well, there is a lot of complications related with the legal system and the tax pressure. There's a lot of things when you start your startup and you hire employment. So if the in a entrepreneur path is like the 10th step, when you're really sure that you have a strong organization and you can absorb all the that costs. But here it's kind of complicated to hire people. In general, the startups start with outsourcing, with, for instance, we have, we have a lot of freelance sites to contract services. But when an entrepreneur is sure that he needs a team, then they hire someone here in Argentina, not in another country. But there's a lot of things that you have to do, especially in the it's kind of difficult in legal terms. You had to be really clear with the conditions, and it's here we have a phrase that you have to hire slow and and quit like like with a speed. It's like you have to hire slow, take your time, and if that relation didn't work, well, you have to quit immediately the relation with that employee.
Sure. It's interesting to see to learn how that is culturally behaviorally from region to region. I help a startup in they're an Australian startup, but they're based in France because they were in France when the lockdown happened, and they decided, let's just stay in France and drink the wine here versus go home to Australia. So they've been there for 10 months. They hired an intern, and they were like, never again, because they spend 5 to 10 hours a week on paperwork alone just for this intern.
Yeah, we have here we have a lot of there is like we have a lot of legends and stories about interns and employees that disappear one day to other. Yeah, it's like it's not that simple.
Right, yeah. So
you know
yeah.
the term ghosting.
Yep, exactly. It's
How employees sometimes they they ghost you.
it's bad
They
out
block
there.
you in the WhatsApp. Yeah, it's not that easy. But I think when you start your project and you are really engaged with that project and you are really passionate about that, it's more likely that you can build a team that share your passion.
Mhm.
And I think that is the cure or the superpower against the ghosting.
Yeah, well, in a busy ecosystem like yours, work history is a good way to identify whether you're going to find good talent. Of course, it comes at a cost because work history means it's going to be more expensive, and you have major world leaders as employers there. You've got HP, Google, IBM, Intel. Everyone's there. Everyone has a presence.
Exactly, and you don't have the amount of money to pay that kind of salaries.
Yeah. Yeah. So now we've talked about talent, we've talked about resources for entrepreneurs getting started. Now let's say I'm that entrepreneur again. I found some team, and I've been able to make the decision to hire, and it was a good one. They're sticking around. They didn't ghost me. Now it's time to maybe raise some money. But I imagine because it's such a busy ecosystem, the pressure to have a good business is really like first. So I have to make sure my business model is good, and then I go raise, right? I don't just raise on ideas, or what's that like?
Yeah, exactly. It's like you said, it's especially I think last year changed somehow the rules. It's more likely to a BC or to I think it's you this kind of investors try to reach the best entrepreneurs, not only the idea, right? It's in fact my co-director, which is Eduardo Workman. He was a BC. So it's important the entrepreneur as a person. If is a person that shows confidence, and they show us like a really compromise with the startup, but it's not enough. Of course, you have to show a business model that if you start, probably you don't earn a lot of money at the first year, or probably the second year, but you have to show that you are in a strong market.
Mhm.
And you have to show that you have a vision to achieve, to reach that market, and to grow in that market. I think when you have a startup, it's like a travel. It's like you invite another to your travel, and you tell the other person, well, we are going to do that, and this is a place that we are going to be and visit, and it's like that. You have to have a strong vision in your business model, and be realistic. It's not like you have to sell like a fantasy. Be realistic, but it's like start small but think big, and show that to an investor or to VC. It's a when I talk with especially with VCs, and they talk about investment that they do in successful startups, I think everyone agreeing the same, that this entrepreneur, when I met him or met her, they were thinking big. I think probably one of the things that a VC want, or an investor want, is that it's not raise money immediately, but the projection of this business model.
Right. Um, now, having so many unicorns come out of your ecosystem, and a lot of really great success stories that have gone beyond the borders of Argentina, or even regionally. Does that make the mindset of the entrepreneurial community to be like everyone's trying to build a unicorn? And is that the same thing for investors? They're all like hunting for like the big win, or how is that distributed? I mean, what's the mindset like?
Well, I think it's not like Silicon Valley with the unicorns grow in the grass. But I think, of course, every VC wants to detect the next unicorn. But in general, I think here we are more realistic. It's like we find a good entrepreneur with a consolidated idea, with a business model that makes sense, and mm, we try. I think in general in Argentina, we make our bet in that kind of entrepreneurs. It's not like we are searching the next unicorn, but especially with the lockdown, there's were like there in general in the world was a huge impact, but especially here, before of the pandemic, we have low defenses. We are we have the I think it's the second tax pressure in the world. We have a lot of bureaucracy for startups. It's not an easy path, but when you're on that kind of trajectory, um, I think the people that survive and think big, even this kind of crisis, are the people that the investor search the most. It's like because and in general, investors are thinking in about I don't know 10 years from now. It's not. It's like crisis. This crisis is someday is gonna to be ended. So they think in the future.
Mhm.
So I think in that case, they are not searching for unicorns, but for companies that was uh, has like this kind of big vision. And the couple of last years, there's a trend related with the social impact. So there's a lot of big companies emerging. For instance, the next event that we are going to do on this chapter is an app for people with disabilities. And they have 7 countries and 500 of companies as a clients. It's really huge, this kind of company. And it's well, it's different kind of startup. It's not the like I don't know the same of technology startup. It's a company with a social impact. And there are a lot of investors searching for this kind of companies. The B certified is really like a thing that I think is going to prevalence in the time.
That's a really cool startup or a company that you're featuring. The idea, the pandemic has opened a lot of eyes to the true realities of equity, whether it's gender, race, but ableism is a huge thing. And around the planet, not every country has a lot of laws about access and ability and mobility for those that they're able, they're just differently abled, right? And they have talents that they can provide. Digitization is certainly helped a lot of people, but only if you have the infrastructure
Exactly.
you can access it, right? So many barriers.
Yeah, exactly. And especially, I think probably we have a really strong agtech and biotech. There are a lot of startups in those kind of fields, and that's why I think here is going to be a huge trend. The big companies.
I would like to hear, like you just touched on some industries. I'd like to hear a little bit about the sectors and industries that are really exciting in your region. We before we hit record, we talked a lot about hospitality and wine and beer. But besides that, what are the what are the other exciting what are the other exciting industries?
Well, agtech and biotech is were one of the huge fields that entrepreneurs develop their startups. But other, especially last year, fintech. There's a lot of companies of fintechs that have a scale growth. Is like an amazing growth last year. Also, enterprise software is one of the fields. I think it grow like it's like 20% of all the startups are from software. And well, I work on edtech, and edtech, yeah, has a huge jump last year. Because of course everybody want to transform their classes on the presential classes on virtual classes. Yeah, I think these kind of fields are the most where the startups concentrate the most. Agtech and biotech is related with our country because here we have traditionally we work a lot with the country and this kind of fields. So they introduce the technology on what historically the companies do. So I think two of this kind of fields are really important in the startup ecosystem here.
Um, Now, like Argentina, huge country. You know, like you said, just a few like real urban centers. What is it like for those that don't live in the big cities to have access to these things like capital and education? And is there the infrastructure to support that type of stuff? Is that emerging? Is there a focus from the government on that or private sector?
Well, that's a really good question. In the last years, we have a government that tried to open the game for other districts and states. And that's why there are another cities that grow last year, especially like Cordoba, Mendoza, Santa Fe is another. So there are like an emerging ecosystem of startups, hubs. There's a lot of going on the governments of each state to improve and encourage the entrepreneurship. So fortunately, it's a trend that is changing, especially in the last year, because you don't need to be on person right now. Because, for instance, if you want a prize, you have to go to Buenos Aires to the ceremony. But last year, was because everything was virtual. We met a lot of people from other cities, and they're doing amazing things. For instance, in the north of the country, it's like it's really different than Buenos Aires. It's really different in terms of culture and in terms of the geography is different. And for instance, in the north, they start a huge hub of technology, and there's a lot of programmers that came from the north, and we work with them like we are in the same office because of course of the virtuality. But I think it's a trend that is going to remain besides this this crisis and the lockdown. But yeah, I think finally it's a good trend because we are a really large country. It's like we are all Europe is inside Argentina, but we are not using the natural resources that we have. It's a waste. It's a really sad.
Yeah, on the topic of like human capital and human like talent being a really valuable resource, and accessing that from the smaller towns and communities, different regions within a country that have different cultures. That brings me to the next question, which is the topic of equity and like gender equity. It's something that Startup Grind is really focused on globally. Different ecosystems have different challenges when we talk about equity. Are there public initiatives at work here, or is it private companies that are importing some of their desires from Europe, the US, etc.?
Well, it's here. We are in the. It's like we are not like Brazil, where there are more like open to a lot of things. Here we are more conservative, but not that conservative as other countries. Like, in general, I think Latin America is kind of conservative in certain fields, like for instance, gender subject. But here we are have a huge change in that material. We have a lot of initiatives related with gender, have specialized with women as a leaders. But of course, the government is supporting that. And I think this is a really good time to be a woman here, but there is a lot of to do. There is a huge gap between, for instance, the 20% of CEOs are women, like the 80% are men. So there's a lot of things that we have to do here to change that. But in my case, for instance, in the university, 10 years ago, when you start a course or a class, you have like one girl in your class. That's it. And now 50% of entrepreneurs are girls, are women. So I think it's a trend that is changing, but there's a lot of to do because, well, of course, it's like something that changed in the last 10 years, and it's a cultural change. It's not that easy. It's not like you you publish a law and that's it. It's something that you have to change inside the culture of the country. But I think it's we have tremendous advances in that term of gender.
Well, I think I had listened to a program about some pop culture influencers having some strong influence on that in Argentina. Some popular
Yeah.
daytime television shows where male hosts like started to engage on the topic of feminism. Like, what is it?
Yeah, that's right. I think television. Well, I work in the audiovisual industry. In the last 5 years, not more, was changing that trend to, for instance, only male hosts in the TV. But for instance, on YouTube, Instagram, and other social media, it's different. There are a lot of influencers, girls, and they, for instance, in music, there's a lot of celebrities and influencers which are women. So women. So I think it's a trend that in television still remains, but it's changing now. It's like, for instance, there's certain kind of shows or like words that it's not good to say. It's like, I think in that you can see the changes, but still remain, as I said, a lot of things to do to improve that trend.
We just have a few minutes left. So since we're on the topic of equity and um, and what is it like for mentorship relationships? Is it popular for say women who are CEOs or are successful, or men, whatever? Just is it popular for people to seek out people to mentor and grow?
Well, it's in general we have it's like we have the entrepreneurship ecosystem, which is strongly led by male, but that that is changing. And for instance, I work as a coach, and probably in 10 years ago was like something strange to do. But I think right now the mentorship is changing, and the entrepreneurs understand that, well, if they reach an specialist in some field, it's like you gain time. It's more easy to make your own path, because you learn from someone that have an experience. And in fact, in the past, for instance, there were investors and nothing else. Right now, there's a trend to obtain a mentor to your startup. I think this trend is going to grow because, in general, the entrepreneur understand the difference between walking alone, this and learning from the only from the failures, but it's easier the path when you have a guide.
Right.
It's not like you have to do what they say, but it's a different kind of vision of your startup, because sometimes we work with hypotheses or something or beliefs, and it's it's something good when you have the help from someone else that was in your shoes before.
Yeah, it's like there's a popular saying, right? If you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together.
Exactly.
So we have time for one more question. And first, I just want to say thank you so much for spending the time with us and helping educate us about what's going on in your ecosystem.
Oh, thank you.
And let us know about some of your background and personal history. We're so grateful to have you as part of the Startup Grind community. Now, as part of the Startup Grind community, part of the reason why you're here is because you love helping others, and you spend probably all day asking people, how can I help you? So now is our opportunity to ask you, what can the global community of Startup Grind chapter directors do for you?
Well, I think in general we have a warm welcome, and it was kind of surprise for me that they were really helpful. But of course, in general, we want to share our events and our knowledge with other chapters. And there's well, of course, there's a barrier with the language, because well, the, the chapter is mainly speaking Spanish, but there's a really good experience here to learn more. For instance, this entrepreneur that we are going to host next month is a really good example to make a big company with social impact, but also making money. So there are a lot of things here that I think are going to be really interesting for other chapters. Especially because I think in Argentina we are very creative and resilient. So it's a good way to know, it's a risky country sometimes, but in the other hand, it's like we are really prepared for crisis. Not sure crisis like that, because it's never seen before. But in general, I think it's interesting for someone in another country to know how an entrepreneur and successful entrepreneur see the future, and how build their background. I think probably to participate in our events could help for us and for the others, of course.
Great. Well, thank you again so much for participating. And then, should you need any like warm intros or anything that that we can do for you, because we have been having so many discussions with different directors around the planet, just please reach out with whatever we can do for you. And look forward to checking in maybe in a few months and seeing how things are how things are emerging. Okay.
Oh, okay. Cross fingers.
Right. All right. Have a good rest of your day, Solange. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for inviting me.
All right.
Bye.